phone's telling me someone's trying to hack into my Google account, of course. Yes, that was me. Done. Beautiful. Okay, what are we doing now? Let's just. Okay. So for those of you that are watching, I think I need to close my YouTube so I don't hear myself. And just trusting that this process is going to work. All right, new technology, loving it. Right, okay. So for those of you who are joining us on YouTube, my name is Lala, or if you want it to be a little bit before more, you can call me Angela or Ange. So today what we're doing is, this is a session that I normally run with my group called Winning the Womanly Way, and we're currently going through, this is the 13th day of our Amplify Your Career Challenge. So every day we'll talk about a topic about career, and today I just thought it'd be really fitting to talk about stress management. For those of you who are in construction, you wouldn't know construction as an industry has got the second highest suicide rate. Now, the published data says that every year we're losing about 266-ish men through suicide. But I do believe if you actually count, right, I believe that data, when they calculated it, it was based on actual people working on construction sites. But if you actually look at that data from a wider industry perspective, not even counting mining, what about our consultants? What about other people that are actually serving the construction industry, but not directly outside? So I do believe that figure is a lot higher than what we all think. And by the time you add mining and civil infrastructure in there, I do think we're getting closer towards 1 man a day sort of data. And this already sort of not unadvertised, but unannounced news about a lot of stress that people are facing due to coronavirus. In fact, I think yesterday I was through a conversation with a friend. Just in the last week, there were 6 suicides in Australia because of this virus, because of job loss, because of stress. So now really is a time that's now, even more importantly, it is a time for us to really look at how do we manage our own stress in stressful situations, just little tricks and tips that we could use on a daily basis. So I have got a deck of slides I want to go through with you guys today. We will start by talking about obviously what I just covered, the statistic in terms of suicides, but also let's just talk about the statistic in stress level. So basically, stress is like a common disease now. A lot of us are going through stress times, burnout, anxiety, depression. So the statistics on, I'm just going to call them mental illness. Now, bear in mind, you have to be diagnosed by a doctor, a medical profession, to know that you have a mental illness. Okay. And that's 1 in 4 people that we know could be suffer from mental illness. So just imagine you're on a construction site of 800 people. 200 of those could have mental illness. Now that's quite significant, right? Because when I learned about the startup, I thought about my team, there's 10 of us. So 2.5 of us, or 2 or 3, depending on my team, could be suffering right now. And I believe that, you know, mental illnesses and these diseases, yes, partially they are inherent. You know, you could have the gene, it could be something that's in your genetic DNA. But more often than not, I do believe these are curable and these are manageable if we have the right tools. So I'm going to talk about Why do I think us as modern day human being has more stress? Okay, this is going to be a very construction focus, because initially this was the presentation I was meant to do to an industry. I can't actually talk properly tonight. It must be a Saturday night thing. So industry-wide event. And I've done this also to a few professional events in the construction industry. So anytime I talk about construction related things, just relate to however it's meant to relate in your life if you're not from the industry. All right, now that's I just realized down the bottom there's a reactions button. I'm very curious what it is, but I'm not going to touch it just in case something happens. All right, here we go. Can you guys all see that as a full screen? All right. Let me see. Okay. Beautiful. I'm just checking to make sure the stack actually shows. Let's see. Okay, you can all see. All right, beautiful. Now, I've actually got a couple of screens on, so I just need to make sure they're all placed in the correct locations, or in good enough locations so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so here I've done the introduction. Essentially what we're wanting to do is to be able to find inner peace, or at least self-manage our stress during this time of stress and uncertainty. Okay. Now, comment in the comment box. What do you think this photo, when I did a search on Google, what do you think this photo is trying to portray? What keyword did I put in there? When you look at this man, what emotion is going through his head? How is he feeling? Amy's got lost. Anything else? Worried? Well, in actual fact, the word that I searched when I was looking out for this photo was actually shame. For those of you who know Brené Brown, you would have studied, you would have sort of read her book, and you know she's a shame specialist that studies shame. And I do believe shame is the primary emotion, even though a lot of people don't talk about shame a lot because it's not a primary emotion. So we talk about the 5 massive negative emotions being anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. Shame doesn't even come in it. But I do believe when we talk about emotions and how they affect our stress hormones and how they affect stress, shame is the biggest stress factor, especially in a male-dominating industry. Okay, if you think about, you know, guys and when they play out, and guys when they talk to each other quite often. I still remember when we were at school, the Islander kids, we went through a phase where we say shame as a joke, but that's almost like the ultimate put down for any kids in the playground. You know, shame is like when your boss publicly told everybody that you're not good enough, right? Shame is like when you found that you got promoted and then they pull the carpet off you and say, well, no, not anymore. I don't think you're suited for the job. Shame is like when I say your wife because I hang out with the boys a lot, when your wife publicly told everybody about something that you are not so great at, right? I think a lot of guys carry shame on their shoulders, on their chest, as something they're very proud of. And us girls are the same. Us girls are the same. Why do I say that? Because the feelings associated with shame are actually a lot of the fears that we're living with day in, day out. Now, I say that I'm not a shame expert, but I could 100% say that I am a fear expert, because for the majority of my life, and even today, I still deal with the feeling of fear day in, day out. I have a different relationship with fear now, but I still deal with fear, right? Feeling of that I'm not good enough, feel like I'm being rejected, fear of failure, and also FOMO, fear of missing out. Especially right now, a lot of people are feeling the FOMO. You know, when we look at fear, a lot of it is deriving from our caveman days. I love use this caveman analogy. We as human beings, we are meant to interact with our tribe. If you think about back in our caveman days, we live in tribes. So if we're not good enough, if we're being rejected by our tribe, and if we failed, and our tribe's like, well, you know, you failed. So, you know, think about survivor. That's like the biggest tribal mentality, right? You failed, you're not good enough, you're the weakest link, so we're going to send you off. What happens back in those days if you've been sent exiled out of your cave? You're gone. You're being eaten by wild animals. No chance, right? There's no chance of survival. And that is still so ingrained in our brain. That's our fight or flight. That's our fight or flight, basically. And there's one thing that I learned about our brain. It's a very brutal way of describing our brain. Think about your brain as 3 parts. Right, so you've got the problem-solving part. You know, when danger comes in, you've got the immediate problem-solving part. And then you've got the middle part of your brain, which is all about dealing with solutions. And then the top of your brain, sorry, the bottom part is the emotions, basically your first reaction, right? So when an emotion, when a situation comes on board, that's the first part that reacts with emotions. And then you've got your actions. But your problem-solving part is actually on the top of your brain. That's the most creative part as well. So I talked about a lot this week about creativity and how at the times of stress, you're not going to be able to be creative. So in order to be creative, what you want to be able to do is to take away all those emotions, because when emotions are up, intelligence are down, creativity is also down. Because if you think about this, where's our heart over here? Where's our brain over here? In order for blood circulation to get to the top of your brain, there you go. To get to the top of your brain, that blood circulation needs to go through your emotion, go through your action, and then go through the creativity, right? So for that to happen, you first need to get rid of that emotion, be allowing yourself to not take immediate action. Then the creativity will come. So what does it look like? When you're stressed, basically your blood circulation goes to the lower part of your brain in order to cope with that stress, which means there's no blood flow to the part of brain that takes action, and there's no blood flow that goes to create the part of your brain that is creative. So what does that mean? Deer in the headlight, right? How many of us, when we face stressful situations, we just go like, I'm paralyzed, I can't move. And a lot of us are going through that phase at the moment. Let's say you're lucky enough, you've done enough work, you get over that stage, you know, you can actually come to an action, so you start doing things. Have you ever heard of a saying, when you do too much, you don't think, you don't assess, then that just becomes almost robotic-like. So you're not actually living at the present. You're not actually living at the present moment, because you have tapped into the unconscious part of your brain that would take the path of least resistance and just keep repeating the same thing. That is when your body goes, okay, I have to do this in order to get out of this fight or flight situation and surviving. So again, blood flow goes to the middle part of your brain, takes all the action, but doesn't go to that top bit where you are the most creative. in order for your blood flow to go to the top, whereas when you're most creative, and then you can actually come up with the right solutions when everything's nice and calm, you have to learn to manage your emotion, not suppressing it, because suppression will lead to explosion. So we need to manage our emotion. I almost say bring your emotions with you. Understand the function of each of the emotions and how are they actually serving you. But for my fear, I've become a good friend with my fear because I've learned that, guess what? This fear is like a warning sign. It's like the amber light to say, hey, hello, this is something that you actually want to do, even though it's outside of your comfort zone, but you're on the right path. So when you're feeling fear, you're on the right path. And now walk with my fear, right? Every step of the way, taking your fear with you and assess, is this fear actually going to kill me? Or is this just a very old part of my brain that's trying to keep me alive through a very old paradigm? Okay. And then what you also need to do is not take immediate actions, especially right now. I did a post yesterday with you guys, and also I did it again on YouTube today about how, actually, no, I didn't do it with you guys. I've done so many videos in the past few days. I did a LinkedIn video yesterday about how right now is not the time to use your old programming, whatever used to work back in the days before coronavirus, is likely not going to work right now. Why is that? Because this is a new pandemic. This is a new situation that our society is facing that we have never faced before. So when we're facing with the new challenges, we need new creativities. Okay. So before I really go into how do we deal with stress, let's just look at the construction industry, and let's just look at some of the, what I call the archetype of construction. So with the archetype of construction, we know that majority of the people I've ever bumped into are passionate. They're actually very passionate about what they do. Like in my company, we've got a motto that a lot of us all share, is we want to share a legacy, we want to have a legacy, we want to leave a legacy. We want to be able to point at buildings that we built and say, hey, I built that, right? And if you want to talk about, relate that to Tony Robbins' 6 basic human needs, it's significance, right? But the other things surrounding people working in construction, that is that we're solution oriented. We're creative and we're solution oriented, but also logically creative. What does that mean? It means you're not so creative, you're unrealistic. You're realistic and you're also creative. I've got a story about this actually. So when I was younger, when I was still in architecture school, I always thought I wasn't creative, because whenever we have a creative project, I would just scrape through, literally. I haven't had a fail yet, touch wood, in any of my subjects. Well, I don't need to touch wood anymore, actually, because I'm not in university anymore. It doesn't look like I'm going back. But those creative subjects were the ones that I always scraped through. And it wasn't until I started working, I realized I am creative, just in a very different way. And I call that logically creative, right? I work very well working within the constraints of logic and what works and what doesn't work. Within those boundaries, the more boundary you give me, the more creative I am. But the more open you give me, I will still kind of stay in those practical boundaries. Attention to detail. That is something, so whenever we have a what we call head start meeting, so the whole team get together, we get to know each other, I can almost guarantee you 75% or more in the room, that's amongst our teams, when we ask them this question, what do you think is your biggest strength? They will say attention to detail. It's almost like attention to detail is like this badge that we wear. And for a very long time, I used to be this person who tried to have attention to detail because I believe that it was a badge that I wear. And it's almost like if you don't, here comes that shame. Shame on you. You don't have attention to detail. That's why you always fuck up. See, that's another shame thing that we do to shame other people in our industry. So all in all, if you look at that middle circle there, with these 4 archetypes, really all we wanted to do, like if we look at our highest value in this industry, what we're hoping to do is leave a legacy, leave a legacy, connecting with other people. We love achievement, and we also love to be acknowledged. So this is really an industry that lives on certainty, but also a lot of importance. We want to feel significant. So what effect does that have when you combine them with high stress situation, long hours, and tight deadlines? We tend to, I guess, not really face our emotions, but also quite often letting our fears, which is shame-led, to hide, to use that as our protection rather than something that drives us to success. So this is one of my quotes from my book. Are you letting your fears lead you to hide or drive you to succeed? Now, hide isn't so much hiding in a sense that it paralyzes you, but hiding is more hiding in the sense of putting on an armor. Putting on an armor of protection so you don't get shamed. Putting on an armor of protection so people don't see who you really are. It's like me trying to pretend that I'm perfect and that I don't make mistakes and that I am actually very good at attention to detail when I'm not. I'm a highly creative and strategic person. I just can't deal with detail. It bores me, right? So every time we make a mistake, because we get shamed, because we have those fears that we spoke about, we put layers and layers of armor on. It's almost like every time I failed, if someone says something that make me feel worse, make me feel this little, make me feel like I have failed in all those things that I'm passionate about, make me feel like I can no longer have connection, I can no longer leave a legacy, I can never be ever again be acknowledged for what I have done in a good way. I'm just going to put more and more armor on, right? So no one can ever see the real me. I know this hedgehog is quite cute, but it's like a hedgehog. When the hedgehog has been attacked, all the spikes comes out. But yes, you do have spikes to protect you. But what happens to the spike as well? It means, okay, you're keeping the enemies out, but you're also keeping your loved ones out. And this was me years ago. It feels like lifetimes ago. Now, I've always got this armor, and armor doesn't have to be a negative thing. You know, a lot of the guys in construction, they're quite aggressive and that's their armor, or they're quite distant, aloof. They don't talk about their feelings. They're quite sort of, armed up. But armor could also be things like you're the classic clown, or that you're just somebody that always cares for other people, right? Caring is loving and giving, but what about that receiving part? Your spikes are actually stopping you from receiving true love, are actually stopping you from building true connections. So is it really worth it to have all those armors? Is it really worth it to be so perfect and wanted to keep all your imperfections in and end up being so alone inside? Amy said architecture school. Yes, same. I like logical creative. Yeah, I know. I'm really embracing that nowadays. I wish I knew that when I was doing active school though, but that probably means I'll quit halfway through. So really, there's different types of armor. And I think a lot of, and the reason I said about how, attention to detail is something that we wear as a badge is because I am seeing so often in our industry and around our world now too, everyone is trying to portray this perfect outlook, this perfect personality, and that's part of what I used to do as a people pleaser. I would go and please other people just so I look like a perfect person that everybody loves. But I know now that I can't make everybody love me. It just doesn't happen. You might be able to make 99% of people love you, but at what cost? At the cost of being a hedgehog and you don't actually get to feel true love and connection. So for those of you that have read my book, the first chapter, there's actually a character called Loki. And Loki had this magic power that he borrowed from a wizard up in the mountains. He's got two armors that he's wearing. One is the 1,000 Masks of Geisha that allows him to change his mark to suit the situation and make other people happy. The other one is the mighty armor of the Black Rhino, which protects him from being hurt. And all he wanted is really to find true connection and love because he is so different to everyone else. He just wants people to love him. But in the end, what happened was he realized the armor and the mask grows thicker and thicker and thicker. So thick, there's actually spikes starting to coming out of his armor. And the space within the armor becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and more constricted. He can hardly breathe anymore. It was almost like it's him in a very tight and squeezed and dingy and dark space. There's no connection to the outside world. There's definitely no love anymore. And everyone just keeps on taking things from him. To everyone else, Loki's perfect. He's the best husband, best son, best friend, best employee, because he will just do anything and everything perfectly. But at what cost? At what cost? Perfectionism is the cover up for the feeling of I'm not good enough. It stops us from seeing our true ability and living a free life. Because none of us is perfect, right? The saying that I love, that we're all perfectly imperfect. Nothing in this universe that's created naturally is perfect. So why do we think we have the privilege of being perfect? And I really do think perfectionism is the #1 contributor to the stress and anxiety and suicide rate anywhere. So how do we get from feeling stressed to a better place and find our inner peace? I'm going to go through a couple of exercises and tips and tricks that I use. Maybe you know some of them already, but it really depends on the situation, and you can add and adapt. And sometimes what I do, the first thing I ask myself is, what do I feel like doing today? Ask yourself, what do I really feel like doing today? Because I believe we all have the answers, right? Whenever I feel lost, I always find answers within rather than reach out, or I will reach out first and then go and check it from within. Okay, let's get started. The first thing is you are perfectly imperfect, understanding that. Even if it means you have to do mirror work, which means you stand in front of a mirror looking at yourself in the eye. I think I've got a cat hair that's stuck in my nose. I keep doing this. You are perfectly imperfect, even if it means you have to do mirror work. So stand in front of a mirror, and just say to yourself every morning, I am perfectly imperfect. I am perfectly imperfect, until you can laugh at yourself and go, I am perfectly imperfect, and I'm happy with that. That will release you from so much angst, release you and set you free. The second thing is always plan ahead and be prepared. So I tend to pre-plan my week. On a Friday, I will look at my week ahead. And every day I'll look at my meetings just to make sure I'm at the right place. I've also got blocking out times and different colors on my calendar that reminds me where I need to be and what I need to do. Right? Because sometimes when you're stressed, we talked about the action part of our brain, which is the logic. It just doesn't function anymore. When you're in that emotion in the lower part of your brain, the logic doesn't work. So if you can override that before anything happens, then at least that's managed. All you need to do is look at, because I'm very visual, look at the color, look at the block, and literally just let your calendar run your life. I used to be, believe it or not, the most unorganized person. I would miss meetings, forget about my meetings, miss phone calls. I was just all over the place. And this system was created so then it's a no-brainer. And that's why you want to make sure your life is during stressful times. Make sure it's a no-brainer. Thirdly, be grateful. I know it sounds like such a overstated thing. Everyone just keep talking and talking about be grateful. But it goes beyond just being grateful for what you've got, but be grateful for the little things, right? I used to do 10 things I'm grateful for the week, but that was sort of my gratitude practice to get myself into a very grateful state. Scott and I, every Sunday morning, will say to each other 2 things that we're grateful for, just so we stay connected. I can't quite express what that's like, but it's almost like when you are so full of gratitude, your heart just opens, right? The other day I talked about expansiveness, feeling of growth, and expansiveness also is feeling of abundance. It's almost like when you're grateful, both happens, right? Your heart expands because you can being grateful allows us to fill it with more joy, but also your abundance expands too, because you're now appreciating of the small things. And when you are in the grateful state, you can't be angry, you can't be sad, you can't be fearful, hurt, or guilt, because you're just grateful. There's no stress. Give it a go, see how you go. But that's what I find. When I'm grateful, I can't be stressed. Right? How can you be stressed when you just appreciate everything that's happening to you? Well, everything that's happening for you. We'll talk about that in another session, but essentially it's about, believing that bad things and good things that happen to you, so you're not a target, instead of happening for you to grow, for you to be better. Breathe. It's one of the most powerful things that you could do when you're stressed. On day, I can't remember when, during our 14-day challenge, there was one day we did a breathing exercise, right? It's essentially taking 3 breaths in, or 4, depending on how long you can take it in. I do 4, but I started with 3. So you take deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then out for 4, and then hold for 4 again. Okay, let's do it together. So we'll go in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4 again. We'll do it again. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and stop for 4. Do that a couple times, and what that does is it actually regulates your body. And when you're breathing in from the nose, it balances from your right side and your left side of your brain. And also I've learned this today, when you're taking deep breaths, right? It also, when it's warm, it regulates your body temperature as well. How cool is that? And also because it's a more steady breath as well. It's allowing your whole body to be more refreshed. It's a more moist breath as well. So compared to when you breathe in from the mouth, it's actually a dry breath. So it actually allows you to, what's the word? To bring more moisture or more, mind blank right now. Anyway, you know what I mean. I'll come back to it. Oh dear, Amy, I don't think you're the only person that's tired. All right, exercise. We all know the benefit. Humidity, thank you, Nori. Yes, humidity into your body, so you don't feel too dried out. Thanks, Noli. Exercise, we all know the benefit of exercising. Noli, when we were first jumping into the call, talked about how going out for a sanity walk. And that's really good because it brings extra energy by, way of oxygen into your body. And I remember when I was first going through my separation with my ex-husband, I used to run a lot, because when I'm running, it's almost like all the stress just drops away. All the things that's worrying me allows my brain to process when I'm doing this repeated action. Plus I was running, Bondi to Coogee. Oh my God, the scenery is so amazing. And everything just drops away when I run. So go for a walk, go for a run. If you're not a runner, go for a walk, right? Look up and be in your power pose. I'm not going to stand up today, but we all know what a power pose looks like, right? I am going to stand up. It's a bit cramped over here, right? Okay, the power pose is like, when you're like that, with like Superman, when you're like that. And so your legs are obviously, firmly on the ground, shoulder width apart, just standing firm. But also look up when you're doing it, because when you're doing the power pose, you already feel powerful. Your postures, like your shoulders are back, you already feel powerful. But what this does to you is when you're looking up, your brain's like, what is this? Your brain's trying to sort of adjust it. And when your brain is busy adjusting things and understanding the situation, it's too busy. It's too busy to process emotions, so you don't feel stressed anymore. How good is that? How good is that? Now, I have to tell you guys this funny joke. So the first time I presented this, it was to a group of certifiers. So for those of you who don't know who certifiers are, or what does a certifier do, they're basically people who certify our buildings, who sign things off. And they're a bit like lawyers, they're quite serious. And it hardly takes jokes. And this was a room full of certifiers. And this was the last presentation of a very long day. They were all falling asleep. It was an old room. It was dark. I was just like, oh my God, I can't even get them to move. So when I forced them to all stand up and do the power pose, I got this. Some of them were standing like on the side, and or some of them don't even have their hands on the hips. They're just like, and even so today, I'm like, if I can survive the toughest audience like that, I can survive anything. But no, this is a really good and powerful pose. Sometimes what I even do is I'll have my head out. I know it sounds really funny. And you do, when you do your high knees, I do that. I do my high knees with my head out and try to move my body, because when you are dancing around, moving your body, you can't feel stressed. Okay, I have actually got on my Spotify an album called The Morning Happy Songs. It's a series of happy and positive songs that will make me happy. I'll sing out loud and I'll dance to it. And when I've got that, when you're dancing like this lady here that we've got on the screen, there's no way that you feel stressed. And I remember there was one morning when I first started doing LinkedIn videos, I didn't feel like going to work. So I put my video on recorded it, and I literally have this music going. I was just dancing and moving around with music, moving your body gets the emotions out, right? And that is like gold. Easy and simple way. We all have headphones these days. Even if you don't, just put the music on. You lock yourself in a meeting room the corner meeting room where no one goes to, or just do that. Remember the important people in your life. Have their photos around you if you need to, and just remember all the times that you spent with them and how much they mean to you. So I used to do this morning ritual. I don't do it anymore because these days I've got a series of rituals that I get to pick. Talk about empowerment, right? One of the things is you visualize. I've got a whole list of music. The first thing is I visualize the people around me and what I'm grateful for. And I visualize the times that I spent with them and how happy it makes me. Before I even do anything else, that was the first thing I do. Because when you remember the people around you, they're like your power force. In terms of feng shui, we talk about a lot. In your offices, always have a wall. See, that's why I always love sitting in a corner. Always have a wall behind you because that's like the mountain, that's like your back support. And always have the important people, like the photos of important people behind you, like inspiring people who inspires you, but also your family, because they are your backbone. They are the people that's going to support you and propel you forward. And then the last thing is find that anchor. Nolan, you will know about this. So this is a neuro-linguistic programming technique where we bring out a hyped state in the past where you feel peace and calm. And we're going to bring that emotion up to 10 out of 10. And you're going to pick an anchor, which is something when triggered that is going to bring you to that state. Now, I would actually recommend calm is something that you could do with a click of finger if you really want to. Right now, my click of finger, someone just installed something in me today that's like remembering my 6-month vision. So I'm not going to do that. But I've got this. So this is what I normally do, if you can see. So I use my thumb and I do this. So I don't do obviously with my second finger because that's something we do quite often. That's something I do quite often too. So I picked this because that's the most uncomfortable one to do. Or you can do that. Or some people do their ears or the back of your knee is another good one to do. So we're going to do this together. And then what I've got is I've actually got 2 bonus stress release techniques I'm going to teach you guys today. They are more advanced techniques I'm going to teach you guys. And I don't normally include it in these because construction people are going to freak out if I teach them those techniques. So we're going to do the anchor first, and I'll teach you the 2 remaining techniques. And we go from there, or maybe 3. We'll see how we go. Okay, so what I want you to do is you can do this with your eyes open or your eyes closed, whatever you like. Some people don't like to close their eyes for some reason. I have clients that doesn't like to close their eyes, and I say just do it with your eyes open. As long as you can bring a visual screen on your mind's eye. And just remember, I want you to remember the last time you feel peaceful and calm, and just have that quiet confidence knowing everything is going to be okay. I want you to bring that up from me on your mind's eye. And I want you to bring that emotion of peace and calm with that quietly confidence feeling that everything's going to be okay, from a 5 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, 8, 9 out of 10, and double that intensity to a 10 out of 10. As you get to 10 out of 10, fire your anchor. Let go of your anchor and open your eyes. Do you prefer apple or orange? Right. So do that. Do that exercise 2 or 3 times a day during this period. And that would really get you sort of feel into that calm state. Now, if you guys want me to record that for you, I'm happy to record it on a separate, so it's separate from this video, and I'll record it for you. And then you can listen to it if you find that easier. Now, while we were doing that, I just had a bit of a download. Maybe I should show you guys a couple more than just the two that I was promised. So the first one I want to show you guys, I'm going to go from the most, let's go from the easier one first. And I think we went through this yesterday anyway. So it's the humming bee technique, which is, I'm going to take my headphone off, which is, so you cover this part of your ear, cover it, take a deep breath in, and then just hum. Okay, so this is how you do it. You go deep breath in and then hum. That's all you do. And do that for 10 times. Okay, just hum until everything gets released out. Take a deep breath in again and go again. You can do it in any pitch as well, any pitch that you fancy. And sometimes I'll be a bit playful and do it, you know, a few times. And after 10 times, let go of your earlobes, and you should hear this humming sound in the background. And it's just the most sensational feeling. It's one of those things that used by the Hindu monks and the yogis. And so it's a part of their practice. Now, this is also part of the practice, but it's a bit more weird and extreme. It's called the lion's pose. Okay, so all you do is have your feet, if you're sitting down, have your feet firmly on the ground, hands on your knees. And what you do is you're gonna stick your tongue out. You're gonna do a mighty roar, and you're gonna look up. Weird, right? But it actually release all the emotions. So what you want to do is when you breathe in, breathe into your diaphragm and breathe out of your diaphragm. Okay, make sure you're not scratching your throat by screaming on you, like, you know how when you use your throat to project your voice, don't do that. Do it from your diaphragm. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. And if you want a demonstration separately to this, I'm actually going to post a video in a group, which I did on one of my other trainings. So I'll do that for you guys. Now you can feel free to do it with me. I can guide you guys through. So feet on the ground, hands on your knees. Take a deep breath in to your diaphragm, and you're going to hold. And when you're holding, what I want you to do is gather all that emotion. Pick an emotion right now. How are you feeling? Pick it right in there right now. I'm going to say tiredness. That's what I'm feeling right now. And I'm going to gather all the emotion. It's like collecting all the energy in your diaphragm. Okay. You can even touch your stomach if you want to do that. So take a deep breath in. Gather all the emotions. And you're going to stick your tongue out and look up the ceiling. I know, the most ugly thing. And I can't believe I'm doing it on YouTube Live. But this has got me out of so much stressful situations. So often we don't express our feelings and we suppress them. This is allowing you to express it. Okay, and that's why I love this so much. Now, there's also one when you put on really loud music and bash the phone book. We don't have phone books anymore. So I bash my pillow really hard, and I find it really helps too. But this last one that I want to show you guys is a very spiritual one that I do every morning now as a shield. Okay, as a energy protection, because during this time, what you want to do is really protect your energy. So for those of you that are spiritual, feel free to follow me. For those of you who are not, you're just like, this is not me, you don't have to participate. Okay, so what I would like you to do is close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths so you start to drop down into the still place within your body, the most still place within your body. So deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. All right. Now, what I want you to imagine is that you are a tree trunk with mighty roots that extend deep into the soil. Just imagine one of those roots goes deep down, past the floor of your house, past the foundations, past the rock layers, going into the center of Mother Earth. In there, you see this golden ball of energy. This is the energy of life and the energy of protection. Now, what I would like you to do is bring the energy up through your root system with you. Through all those layers of rocks, through dirt, through the foundations of your building, up the floor, to your legs, up your knees, your thighs, to every single chakra through your back, down to your shoulders, your arms, your elbows, your fingers, through your neck, up your head, all the way to the top of your head. And this golden energy of light forms a golden ball of energy around you as protection. I also want you to imagine on the outside of this golden light, there's mirrors everywhere, thousands and thousands of mirrors facing outwards. So no negative energies can come in. And when any negative energies come close to you, you just reflect it back out again. Now imagine that golden light continues up, past the ceiling, past the roof of your building, past the hemisphere, past the galaxy, going into the golden Milky Way, through the various layers of the universe, light and dark, until you finally reach this pearl of essence light, the creator of all it is. Breathe in this pearl of essence light. Feel that it's coming with you back down. Travel through the same route, through all the layers, through the Milky Way, through the galaxy, through Earth's atmosphere, through your roof and the ceiling, down to your body, through your crown chakra, your third eye, your throat, your shoulder, your arms, your elbow and your fingers, through your back, and then go down every single chakra, every vertebrae of your back, through your hips, knees, ankles, and to your feet. This golden light and the pearl essence light from above is going to act as your protection through this period of time. And whenever you need an extra energy, just do this meditation, and that would give you peace and calm and into a joyful state. When you're ready, you can open your eyes now. How are you all feeling? That's really the end of our presentation. You're welcome, Noling. I'm glad you like it. Noling, I think it's only you online now. Have you got any questions? I'm just going to unmute you. How are you feeling?
I loved that, Lala. That was a really great presentation.
Thank you.
I'm feeling very much at peace right now after doing that meditation.
It's good, isn't it?
It is. It's a really good one. And you had some really great ideas there for releasing that energy within. I love that lion one. Yeah, I really did. No, I did, because we need to find a really quick way of being able to do that. And
yeah, we do about 3 to 5, and that just transform you right away.
Yeah,
but that's the one that I do when I know there's no one around.
Yeah, of course, you can't be doing that in the middle of a crowd, but yeah,
no,
it's and it'd be a great one to do in the car.
Yes, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Or I'll do, the humming bee one. I do it in the toilet cubicles when I don't have anywhere that no one can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was really, really good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, some good information there, Lala.
I'm glad
I've been
you like it.
Writing down lots of notes.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to post a recording in the group so you can always re-listening to it.
Okay, perfect. No, that's good.
Yay.
All
right. Any questions?
Right. No, I'm all good. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, you have a good night. Hopefully that meditation will give you a good night's sleep as well.
I'm sure it will. All righty. Take care. And you're doing a great work being such a support and a light worker to us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.